feel weird talking, and I'm just accepting the fact that I'll probably never get 100% used to this, um, which is a problem because most of human interaction relies on speaking to people. And there is a sort of strangeness to the scenario I'm in right now. The fact that I'm talking to no one, but there are people potentially listening. I don't know if anyone's even watching this at the moment. I just said I was going live like 10 minutes ago. But it is weird to talk to a camera when there's no one here. There's no person to triangulate off of, and I'm not thinking, okay, this person in front of me that I have a personal relationship with, what are they thinking? Are they thinking this? And when you're talking to someone in person, like someone that you know, like a friend, you have a personal history together, memories, things you can go off of and bounce off of, and topics that you can reference and memories you can reference. Whereas right now, I'm essentially talking to strangers, which is strange, yet this is also the new normal. It's this scenario of speaking out into the internet is the new default situation where, even for myself, I probably spend more time speaking to people online than face to face. So that's why I'm trying to do this type of thing where I'm speaking out loud, even though there's no one here face to face. It's a little bit more like simulating a personal interaction because I can reply to people in real time in the chat. Oh, hi, chat. Good evening, Angie K. Hi, Cracky Comics. Hi, Mark. Hi, Trio. Yeah, interaction. And I kind of, when I don't know what to talk about, I just start talking about talking. And it's because I feel like maybe I'm thinking about this too much, but I was walking in the woods today and just looking at all the trees and branches and all these fragments and even dead trees and trees that were dying, and also hearing people speak, just hearing people walk past me and hearing fragments of conversations. For some reason, I was thinking like all of us are like trees, and we're all connected with the underneath our roots are we're all connected in a way, and we're also imperfect and falling apart and aging like the trees, and we're trying to reach out to people kind of like branches. Now, I don't think trees are consciously trying to reach out to each other, but it was just like a visual metaphor for humans, how humans are. We're all intertwined, and some trees are just more off on their own and isolated, and I kind of relate to those trees because I am extremely introverted, and I don't really get lonely, which is I can get lonely, but my threshold for loneliness is much higher than most people probably, um, and well, I will say I noticed I've gotten less lonely ever since I had a girlfriend because that's someone I talk to every day, so I kind of get like my interaction fill that way. Um, but it is weird to tickle another person's consciousness with words. You can think things and you say them out, and then the other person, it goes into their mind, and then they say something in response to you. It's this bouncing back of consciousness. We're tickling each other. I just can't even comprehend it, to be honest, and I don't think I ever will. Um, but that's sort of this concept, wabi-sabi. It's this idea that uh, wabi-sabi is just imperfection, impermanence, and simplicity. So everything in nature is in a state of constant growth and decay. Everything is imperfect, incomplete, and unfinished, just like us. We're the same way. We aren't separate from nature, even though we often think that we are. We're definitely different and very complicated. Um, like, there's no other species that are quite like humans. At the same time, nothing we do is 100% unique to us either. Every social animal communicates. They might not talk with words, but they communicate in other ways. But we are also the most neurotic because we're so self-aware, self-conscious. Like, it's all in the phrase self-conscious. You're conscious of yourself. So the more conscious of yourself you are, the more likely you are to be self-conscious, insecure of this thing that you're being hyper focusing on. But if you shift your attention away from yourself as this object, or this subject that you are perceiving yourself to be, if you shift your attention more holistically in a non-judgmental way and detach from this clinging on to this idea of self, then anxiety is more likely to subside, and you're less likely to have neurotic thought loops. And like, because I've noticed, at least for myself, whenever I'm in a bad mood, it's often like myself is involved in that mood somehow. Like, someone said something that ticked me off, or someone said something, I don't know. It's just about like not letting anyone else's opinions or thoughts infect your own. Don't let other people's opinions control your own mood. Easier said than done because we're such social creatures, but I've been thinking a lot about that kind of stuff. So, did I talk about okay, can someone, because I don't know what I've been talking about in the stream that I accidentally had private and what I'm talking about right now. Let's read the comments again. Interaction, yes. Amen, love your work. From Yo M. Thank you. I feel like that's a fair assessment. The innate artistic pulse you feel be like that sometimes. Yes. Perspective is one of my favorite things to ponder. Totally. Can someone answer me this question? Did I talk about the first time I talked to a girl on the phone? Can someone please answer that in the chat? Did I tell that story? I don't know what I'm talking about. Because I will talk about that. I'll talk about that, and also, first I'll talk about when I first started saying stuff, when I first started telling stories when I was a kid. Social train wreck. When I was a kid, well, I kind of had delayed speech, so I didn't start talking till a little bit later. And when I actually started, having more complex conversations, besides just like one word type responses and stuff, I would talk about just things that I would go into a room with adults talking, like, and then just interrupt everyone, and I would get super offended if they didn't pay attention to my entire story. The problem is that my story would go nowhere. Kind of like, I guess that part hasn't changed, but I would just walk into a room and find something like a pen, and I'd go, everyone, listen up. One time I saw a pen, and the pen didn't have any friends, and then the pen saw the light up there, and the light wanted to talk to the little book, and then I would just keep talking about objects, and people would be like, okay, Micah, that's good, but I would just keep talking, like, and just not stop, and the story would go nowhere, and I would just keep pointing to different random objects in the room, and the story would only end once I ran out of things to point to. So it was a totally pointless story. But so yeah, that's the basis of when I started telling stories. And then, anyways, so then I guess that's just the prelude to the first time I talked to a girl. Okay, not the first. Okay, not the first time I talked to a girl, but like the first time I got a girl's number. We talked on the phone. So I was homeschooled, in case you couldn't tell, and this other girl was homeschooled, and we met at a homeschool event, and we kind of sort of hit it off. I think. I don't really know. I don't know how it happened, but anyways, I got her phone number, and we were gonna be like boyfriend girlfriend over the summer, just on the phone, just have phone conversations. So I didn't call her all summer because I was too nervous, and then I was like, well, I guess I should call her because, you know, why? What else am I gonna do? And but I was so nervous, and I just could never dial her number. I could never complete it. I would always get to the last digit and hang up because I just didn't know what to talk about. What do you talk about on the phone with a girl? So I wrote out an entire complicated conversation chart. And the chart basically had diagrams of topics we would talk about. So, like, at the top, I asked her, who's her favorite character on Dragon Ball Z? And then it would branch off and have like all these options: Gohan, Piccolo, Vegeta, Frieza, Cell, Yamcha. The list goes on. And then I had little branches off of the characters, like the sagas they were in, and we could talk about like their transformations. What's your favorite move that they use? Special Beam Cannon from Piccolo, all this kind of stuff. So it was like the whole conversation chart was like almost entirely Dragon Ball Z. And so I call her, and the first thing I say to her is, who's your favorite character on Dragon Ball Z? And she responds, I don't watch that show. Awkward silence. My hands start sweating. My throat tightens up. I just kind of just stare at the chart, and it was very scary because I thought I had something planned out, and then it just totally just turned into a social train wreck. And it was kind of like, it was just embarrassing because I didn't say anything. And then like, I don't know how the conversation ended, but we certainly didn't go anywhere. And I'd done that a few times, like throughout high school, not so much writing out charts, but I would rehearse in my head what I would say to people and try to anticipate what they would say back to me and think about my responses. And I think that's something really common with people with social anxiety. But the problem with that is that, yes, sometimes it can help to prepare in advance what you're going to say. But if you hyper focus on and cling to this desired outcome, this desired conversation that you're going to have with someone, and then people don't say what you think they're going to say, well, then you're kind of worse off because all this stuff you rehearsed in your head is still bouncing around up there, but it's totally irrelevant and useless. And so that's when I started not doing that. Started trying to be more just in the moment, and just when I would talk to someone, just ask them questions. Like, you don't have to try to control the conversation. It can be more loosey-goosey, and that's okay, and it's going to be imperfect, and you're going to say probably some dumb stuff, but most people are just worrying about what they're saying. And so that's a little tip. If there's any other kind of awkward type of, socially anxious turtles out there, those are some tips I hope can be of some use to someone. This is from Chi Dante. A good mantra is, I'm only going to do what the being wants me to do, not what others want me to do. I will not identify with anything in life. Yes, I like that. Yeah, because it's also like choices. We all have choices and things we do. But if you don't choose, someone else is going to choose for you. So, and that comes into work too, like having things to work on. Like if you're a freelancer, or just like if you have, your inbox of emails. You have these requests, people wanting you to make things, and maybe some of the gigs aren't that good, but like if you feel like you have to say yes to everything, like, and that's something I'm still trying to come to terms with, get over. Like if you're too afraid to say no, then it's letting some other people control your life. So yeah, just what else? Oh, all right. What was I gonna talk about? Oh yeah, I talked about talking. Um, well, I guess if y'all don't have any questions, I'll show some stuff I've been reading. So I started reading Satoshi Kon. He's the anime director. This collection of manga from him called Dream Fossil. It's a bunch of short little comics he made in the 80s. And it's before he did any animation work, before Perfect Blue or Paprika. But a lot of his signature style is still here. It's fun to look at an artist. It's fun to look at an artist honing his skill and kind of figuring out what works and what doesn't. I don't know how much of it is due to the translation, but a lot of the dialogue is a little bit stilted, or just like it doesn't feel supernatural. But a lot of the themes, like of the blurring the line between reality and what's in your imagination, that's all in here. Like and there's some pretty funny ones in here too. Some are more kid appropriate, some are more adult. There's like a ancient samurai story in here. So I've been trying to absorb some more of his work. And then I've been kind of slowly reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. He was the Roman emperor from the year 160 to 180, and these meditations were never meant to be published. He wrote it for himself, but it's basically about how to live a stoic, disciplined, moral life in a world of chaos and suffering. Some of it's a little slightly dated. Some of his opinions of like women and things like that are a little bit of the time, so to speak, but a lot of it's also timeless, like how to be a responsible steward of your own mind, kind of like the stuff we've just been talking about, controlling your emotions, not letting other people's opinions control you. A lot of meditation on the concept of the end of life and how being able to look out into the future and see yourself on your deathbed, when that day comes, what will you have wanted to do on today? So most people aren't going to be wishing, oh, I wish I would have said yes to more trivial things, more trivial requests from people, or I wish I would have spent more, this is super cliche, but I wish I would have spent more time making money to buy things that I don't need to impress people I don't like. Super cliche saying, but true nonetheless. No one's going to be wishing that. So it's all about prioritizing your limited time. I know it's kind of depressing to think that our time on this earth is limited, but it's also a way to hone our priorities, hone our focus on what's the priority. Otherwise, we're just grasping at everything that seems kind of important or intriguing, when in reality, very few things are vital. So a lot of the difficulty isn't so much putting in the work, but rather figuring out what is worth putting the work into. At the same time, Like, you can't live your life thinking today is the last day, because we have projects that require a lot of time. Like, there's 5-year projects and 1 month long projects, and you might have a 10-year long project plan. So, like, obviously something like that, it's not like, well, I'm gonna live today like it's the last day ever. Because if you're living today like it's the last day ever, that's actually pretty short-sighted. Then you're not actually planning for any days that go beyond today. Just a little caveat there. Um, this is from Sabrina Cheney. I haven't read Dream Fossil, but I have Opus, and it's amazing. After watching all of Satoshi Kon's films, discovering his manga feels like unearthing new treasure. 100%. I totally relate to that. And it's like, no, I didn't even know he made manga. It's like he's most known for his anime, but that's not to say that his manga is of any less, quality. It's really. I also have Opus. I haven't read it yet. Um, is that the one where I just flipped through it, but I have a couple of his. I have Tropic of the Sea, and then this one he made with Mamoru Oshii. It's called like Seraphim Wing. I haven't read that one either, but I think if I'm not mistaken, Opus is the one where it's about a manga creator, and you inside the manga itself, you go inside the manga that the manga creator is making, and he's like some of the characters he has to kill off or something. It's very meta, but very Satoshi Kon. Techno Micah says, nice hair, dude. Nice name. I appreciate. Probably gonna get it trimmed soon. I bought a shaver to shave off my face because, I don't know. I can't really. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I just. Basically, I put no thought or effort whatsoever into my physical appearance. I mean, I shower every day and like I comb my hair, I put deodorant on, but in terms of like making any kind of decision that okay, this is how I'm gonna be, I just do what's comfortable, and I'm also kind of just don't care. But yeah. So, but I am gonna try to shave my beard because I can't really grow a beard, and my mustache is all messed up. It grows longer on this side, connects to my beard, whereas this side it just stops. So I don't want to look like an April Fool. Also, my clothing. I don't know if I've ever bought my own clothes. Um, yeah, no, I have. I have bought underwear. No, okay, I've bought my own underwear. I think I've bought my own pajamas. But basically, all my shirts were hand-me-downs from my older brother, who's 10 years older than me. And so, like, I'm 33, I think. I'm 33. And basically, this shirt was from high school. I had this shirt since 12th grade. So, I don't know. My clothes hold up somehow. Just don't care. Well, I guess this shirt has some holes in it, but I don't know. It's whatever, I don't like. No, anyways, whatever. So, you're correct on Opus. Have you watched any of the Oscar-nominated animated short films? I went to a screening this weekend. Oh, that's awesome. I'm interested in hearing anyone's thoughts on this year's nominees. Wow. I wish I had a good answer for that. I don't really keep up with things. I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, I don't really keep up with anything. I find out about stuff eventually, but like Oscars or Grammys type stuff, I've never watched any of those. But in terms of short films, I will say there's a YouTube channel called, I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's pronounced Goblins or Goblins, but they're like a college or a French kind of college / studio, and their short films are amazing. I've never seen seen a Goblins short where I wasn't impressed by something about it, be it the visual style, the story, the sound design. Every film is this unique expression, and I wish more kind of like mainstream type anime productions would take those types of stylistic risks, where it's like less of these sort of standard character types, and like a more like a really individualistic style. Those are the types of things that I really like. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I think it's like Masuo Yusakua. He does like 3 movies a year. One of the shows he did was renewed version of Devilman Crybaby. But I like his movies, cause yeah, they're all very unique. Also, the stuff by Studio 4C, I think that they always, even if sometimes the plots maybe aren't my favorite ever, it's always something that is a visual feast and different from other things going on, like Chimney and Poopy Town or something. I don't know what it was, but I watched that one recently and really enjoyed it. And I also watched Cowboy Bebop the past year. It took me an entire year to finish it. I actually don't watch that much stuff because I'm mostly just making stuff all the time. But this year I've been trying to watch at least one movie a week every weekend. And so last year I started Cowboy Bebop. It took me 12 months to get through the series, and there's only 25 or so episodes. I was blown away. I can't believe it took me so long to watch it. And I know it's like a normie thing to say, like certain anime that are like super well known, like if your favorite anime is Dragon Ball Z, then it's like, not that surprising, especially if you grew up in the 90s. But Cowboy Bebop, just from a like storytelling, the cinematography, the dialogue, it felt like, and I don't want to say this to disparage anime or animation in general, but it felt like a live action film that was animated, if that makes sense. Like the dialogue, for instance, it felt pretty natural. There was parts where they'd ham it up a bit, but it was very dark and gritty. There was Blade Runner in there, and there were all these different influences. It was a western in space. The jazz soundtrack was incredible. It was honestly like I want to rewatch it again already. It was incredible. I bought the Blu-ray, so I'm gonna rewatch it soon. This also has creator commentary on it to see what they were thinking at the time. And then, oh yeah. So then some other books I'm reading is Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams. Just a bunch of short stories. Because I rewatched Blade Runner recently, and that is based off his book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? So I'm wanting to kind of explore more of his stories, and they're all super depressing. Nightmare fuel. And then, speaking of Satoshi Kon some more, I got his storyboards for Paprika. I'm going to make a video about this book soon. I recently did a video on this book called Akira Keyframes and Layouts. There's just a bunch of artwork in here. It's my most recent video, and I want to make more kind of like art flip through type books and talk about some of the history of it, different artists that worked on it. But these storyboards are insane. I don't know if you can see it that good on the camera. Some of his drawings are more polished than finished graphic novels. he drew over 3,000 storyboards for Paprika, and the text is in Japanese, but you still get an idea for the camera movements and the pacing, and it has like the timing on here too, how many seconds each shot lasts for. And I think he must have used some computer type shading in here, because some parts almost look 3D type textures and shading, but it's really just a visual feast. Might not be my favorite movie of his, maybe even my least favorite in terms of the emotional investment with the characters. I think Perfect Blue and Tokyo Godfathers, those characters feel so real, and whereas Paprika is more like a cycle. It's more like, it's a little more. It's just a visual feast. It's a total, like, a spectacle, and the way the editing is, it all flows like a dream. It's a great animated film. And then, yep. And then I started reading this called Essentialism, and some stuff in here. It's like the importance of play, how, like, even as an adult, you need to detach from work and just do some things that are totally playful and kind of pointless maybe, but it isn't really pointless, because when you play, you're making all these, allowing your brain to make all kinds of new connections, and you come back to your projects refreshed and ready to try new things. And like all social animals play, like that's how they learn, you know. So it is important. Also, the power of saying no, because I often feel like I need to say yes to everything, and part of that comes from just social aspect of wanting to please people. But you have to be able to respect your own boundaries. People who say yes to everything, and they get a reputation for being good old reliable. We can always count on him or her to say yes. These types of people actually get sick more often, because if you don't respect your boundaries, you become spread thin. It weakens your immune system. You're under more stress. And I'm not comfortable saying no, but the more I've done it, the more it's become, I don't want to say like it's building a callus, because you can say no with empathy. You can say no and refer the prospect to another person that might be able to work for them. Like when people ask me to make them an animated music video, 99% of the time I can't do it, but I'll often refer them to other animators who might be able to help, or just refer them to my shop and give them a discount code. And if they have editing chops, then they can make music videos out of the loops. Because before, like, I was just saying yes to everything, and just this year I'm really hyper focusing on more of my own personal projects, taking a bit of a financial gamble, because I've been saying no to things that, you know, have a budget. However, money comes and goes, right? But your time is always going, and time is far more precious than money. Well, obviously you need both, like, you know, to survive and pay bills. Bills are always coming in too. At the same time, I feel confident that if I get in a crisis situation where I need to, like, stop doing personal projects, I have enough of a network, enough, and I also have invested so much time into building skills that I know I could get more jobs if I needed to. But I'm just going to really try this year, you know, however many months, to focus on things that I've been wanting to work on for years and years, but just haven't been able to, because I've been working on deadlines and projects, like commercial type projects that have insane work hours. So I'm just getting emotionally and psychologically and physically spread thin. At the same time, I'm super grateful for any projects, because most people can't work on things that are relevant to their passions. like the fact that I can draw animation and generate some kind of income from it in order to survive, which is my definition of successful for myself anyways, then I'm super grateful and happy in that way. But I've definitely am reaching a breaking point where I just can't do this forever. So this year, I don't know how long, it might be a few months, might be the whole year. And I'll say yes if if an opportunity comes up that I can't say no to, like if like Radiohead put out a new album somehow, and like if they said make me something, I'll drop whatever I'm doing. If it's something like that, of course, that's a dream scenario. But where was I going with this? Oh, okay. Oh, I should check chat again. So Angie K says back. Oh, certain kind of face, an open mouth face. I don't know what that is. I think that's a wow face. She says, don't let your toast get too dry. Time keeps on ticking to the future. Yes. Yes. Okay. Things I'm working on. Oh yeah, if you're in the chat, tell me things you're working on. Also, if you're in the chat, if you have any questions, you can ask them because I will most likely answer them. Unless they're, well, yeah. I'll probably answer most questions, obviously, if they're like too personal. I mean, I don't know. I don't mind like somewhat personal questions, but not too personal, if you know what I mean. But this isn't that bad. I was very nervous. I'll be honest. I was pretty nervous before I started this live stream. Not as nervous as I used to get. But yeah, it's like the more you do something, the less weird it feels. So I want to do a live stream once a month. Maybe, I don't know. I'll at least like plan it. I'll at least put it on YouTube saying like a day or two in advance so people can know. And yeah. Angie is planning a short film about my Toontown rewritten character. Cool. Toontown rewritten character. Toontown, is that the Ralph Bakshi Toontown? Sabrina says, what's the beverage in your cup? Just water. Yeah, I'm boring that way. I stopped drinking coffee. I was definitely addicted. And then, because I would kind of use it as a crutch, especially like, it's bad, but sometimes there'd be projects where I would sometimes work on two projects at the same time. For instance, in 2020, during the whole month of March, I was working on a commercial, this lottery commercial, with this animator, Anthony Shepard. He's an amazing animator. If you search his name on YouTube, he did a bunch of different music videos. Probably the one he's most known for is the Blockhead music video. But I was working with him for a few months on his projects. On top of that, I was also working on some live footage of these rats. Not live footage, but concert footage of rats like being chased by a cat in this sort of black and white dystopia world. Working on both of these gigs. So I would spend 8 hours a day working on the project for Anthony. Another 8 hours working on the rats animation. So it was like working two full-time jobs for this stretch of time in 2020. And I was drinking so much coffee just to get through that. I was getting the shakes. I was becoming paranoid. I was becoming angry. I was getting like crazy thought loops. And that's when I realized I don't think this is good for me. I was also having really weird farts and like having to go to the bathroom a lot. So I just quit it. And I kind of quit it cold turkey. And I definitely had withdrawals for like a month where I was getting bad headaches. But then after that, I just don't drink coffee anymore. And I don't have a coffee maker. Um, so like there's no temptation to make it. I do drink tea, but I find that the tea has a much slower onset of the effect of caffeine, that it doesn't have the same kind of effect on me with the shakes and the anxiety. So that's basically what I drink every day. Is I start out in the day, I'll drink green teas and black teas and oolong tea, and then as the day goes on, I try not to have any caffeine at least 6 hours before bed. And if I drink any more stuff, it's just water or herbal teas. And I find that it supplies a sufficient amount of energy and focus to work on things without all the drawbacks I was experiencing from coffee. That's just me. I know coffee can. There's other good stuff about coffee. Holy hand grenades. What's up? No worries about misspelling any names. And okay, reboot of Disney's Toontown Online. Okay, I gotcha. Well, that's cool. Good luck on that. I'm preparing myself to quit coffee. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend quitting cold turkey. I kind of did it out of desperation, but weaning off it's probably the more sensible thing to do for sure. If you want to like a less drastic, you might still experience some withdrawals depending on how much you've been drinking. It's just like any other kind of addiction, but it's worth trying, especially if you feel like it's causing you any kind of problems. Like, it's definitely worth trying. So I also got this weird drink over here. I don't know. It's called Protein something, Protein 20. Not a sponsor. Has 15 grams of protein. And I don't know. It's interesting, I guess. It's kind of fruity. Trying to build my muscles. I was working out 3 times a week because there's a little gym in my apartment complex. And I've never been able to gain weight for some reason. When I was in 12th grade, I weighed 140. And, well, actually, I got up to 148 when I was working out. And then, now as an adult, I weigh 140. So, I'm like the same body that I was in high school. But then I started working out last year at my gym, and I got up to 148 again. So, and then I stopped working out the past couple months, and now I'm down to like 142. It's depressing because I'll work so hard to build muscle, and I don't know. Now my main focus isn't so much getting ripped as it is just maintaining my health. Just working out to maintain my strength and energy. That's all I really care about. Because especially, I think once you hit 35, I forget the process, but it's a specific like chemical hormonal process that happens where you just naturally start losing your bone and muscle mass. Your bone density and your muscle mass just starts to atrophy like at a more accelerated rate. And I don't have a lot to lose, so I need to kind of prepare for that. A lot of stuff about weight, it's like people being self-conscious of being overweight. And, of course, I sympathize with that. However, like, there's definitely a lot of people that are self-conscious about being underweight, particularly men or, like, boys in school. I noticed, like, if you were scrawny, that was a thing, right? That was a thing to be made fun of for. Of course, when you're in middle school, everything's a thing to be made fun of for. Kids are savages. But, yeah, my ribs show. But I just think of my ribs as, like, part of my six-pack. It's just outgrowth from my six-pack. I have a 24-pack. Probably can't see it. It's solid. Sabrina says, I've had an idea for a drawing stuck in my head for a while, and I'm planning on working on it tomorrow since I have the day off. Any recommendations for something to watch, listen to while I draw? Ooh, you know, I always, if I'm working on a project where I have to stay seated and not get distracted, like honestly, just like music, video game soundtracks, not music with lyrics. I find lyrics are distracting. Um, and like audiobooks can be good, or like podcasts or videos with talking can be good if it's like for things that don't require deep concentration. So for instance, if you're doing like the like inking process where you're tracing over what you already drew, but if you're like trying to draw things from scratch and doing your research phase and building up the structure of your drawing, then I would say stay away from anything with voices or dialogue, because talking puts images in your head. Like an audiobook is putting, you know, a visual novel in your head, and that can be very distracting. Whereas instrumental music, it occupies a different space in your brain because it's all just auditory with no talking. Um, so that's something that I listen to. Also, like just rain noises. Although sometimes if things are too relaxing, you might want to go to sleep. Just have to see what works for you. But like, yeah, like 8-bit and 16-bit soundtracks. The Final Fantasy games have awesome music. Sometimes if the music's too awesome, you want to dance. So, um, like Sonic the Hedgehog music, it's just so dancey, so danceable. But yeah, I like Sonic. He's cool. I've been playing Sonic Frontiers. I just started. My brother bought it for me because I helped him move. And, you know, watching the footage online, I wasn't really that interested in it. I thought the colors looked a little too gray and drab. And, you know, it almost felt like they're just trying to do the Breath of the Wild thing, but with Sonic. And the pop-in, it just didn't look too appealing to me. I haven't really been that interested in 3D Sonic games since Sonic Adventure. I love the 2D games, Sonic Mania, masterpiece. But I will say, playing the game feels great to play. It feels great to be in the open world, running around, collecting rings. I love it. I'm having a blast with it. I also recently played Sonic Origins. Despite all the flaws, despite that it wasn't perfect, I love it. I love having the classics on my Switch. And I've bought those games like a million times for every system, but still. Um, Animation by WRU says, oh wait, oh okay, this person's replying to someone else. Okay. Oh, I'll just read what it said. I've been putting ambient music that matches the mood that I'm working on. I feel like it helps my mind create things it wouldn't. Yes. Also Animal Crossing. Yes. You know, this is interesting. Jordan Peele, he recently, well, of course he's from the Jordan and wait, what's it called? Key and Peele. Yeah, that comedy series, and also recently he made Wendell and Wild, the stop motion animation movie, and he made Nope. That's the most recent movie that he directed. And I was listening to a roundtable discussion with him and a bunch of other writers, and he got asked the question of what does he listen to or do to get in the mood for writing. And this is interesting because he's writing like scary scenes. So for writing like a scene that he wants to be scary, he'll put on the most silly music or the most like calm, relaxing, anxiety reducing music to write an incredibly disturbing scene to, because he thinks that if he can write something that feels creepy despite the music being very calming, then that's a sign that what he's writing is legitimately creepy. Whereas if he was writing a creepy scene and put on horror music, then that's basically priming his brain to interpret what he's writing as inherently creepy, even if it's not that creepy. So that's a kind of a counterintuitive technique, is to put on music that is the opposite for the mood that you're going for, and see if you can still make the mood you're going through, the mood that you're trying to communicate, shine through these other distractions, these other forces that are pulling your mood in the opposite direction. I've never heard of someone doing that technique, so I might try that. Something I want to do with moving forward on, because I was just talking about doing some like more personal projects, and it's just hard to prioritize things. But I guess it's like some of the projects are very ambitious, and like I don't really have the staff or the funds to do it. Like I want to make a big film type thing called the Tower of Babel, or I mean the Terror of Babel. And it would be kind of about things that I think about a lot, like talking, babbling, the strangeness of speaking, but it would be kind of a dystopian type vision of this tower that's in a constant state of being built and also falling apart, and pieces of it are constantly being destroyed and reassembled, and it's basically like their whole economy is built on like this never ending growth of this abomination of things that are just growing towards the sky, with like a bunch of roller coastery arms sprawling out of the tower, and there'd be these roller coaster battles of these bird type humanoid people that are building the tower, and they also have like roller coaster type things that they ride and battle on. But the problem is I haven't really figured out any kind of coherent plot or characters. It's more just the themes and the visual of it, and it's been in my head for the past 10 years, and so I'm reading books on like how to craft a story and plot structure, the 3 acts, and like the story points, just how to write characters, and I don't know. It's a lot to process, but I'm just trying to figure out some kind of structure to put this idea in to actually make it into something. But like, it's a very ambitious looking thing that I see in my head that's like I don't even have the technical ability to do, especially not by myself. So that's like, the question is, do I focus on that this year, where the most I could probably get done is just some pre-production stuff, like writing a script, like that's a whole thing, and then doing the storyboard, that's a whole thing. Don't know even how long it will be, like 10 minutes or what, probably not feature length. But so like I get overwhelmed when I think about those types of things, and then I think about smaller projects I can do, like for YouTube, which would be more animation analysis type videos, like the Knuckles animation analysis. It's the Sonic Frontiers prologue. It's this little 2D animation of Knuckles on Angel Island, and I just go through that kind of scene by scene and talk about the animation principles, like squash and stretch, and the different kind of camera techniques they're using, different areas of composition, how they're using it to guide the eye, the spacing of Knuckles on certain scenes, and the frame rate they're using. I want to make some more videos like that, analyzing certain scenes from different animated things, like animated shorts or maybe movies. Of course, the problem of copyright comes in of, I don't want to get in trouble. So that's a little bit of a gray area there. Another project I want to do is surreal ink drawings, and have the camera like looking at it as a time lapse and illustrate things, and then talk about random things or just thoughts, and then sell maybe both prints and also original drawings. So like put the actual original physical artwork for sale on my shop, because I've never sold physical art before, and I think that would be kind of cool. And then and also more animation tutorials, just bite-sized animation tutorials for YouTube, and also make a 2D animation beginners course. Last year I did a fire course. It's the first ever course I'd done, and that took like 2 months, maybe 2 or 3 months to finish. I was working on other stuff at the same time, but It's like 2 hours worth of videos, and Fire's a little easier to animate than like human characters. So making like a 2D beginner's animation course will probably take longer than 3 months. So that's something to consider. But I do want to do like some more physical type artwork. Everything's digital now because it's just so convenient. You don't have to pay money to buy new paint, new colors. You have an infinite supply of colors digitally, and everything's pixels, so you don't run out of materials ever. And also just the like instantly getting something on your computer when you work digitally is super convenient, whereas working physically, you have to scan it or take a picture of it. You deal with all these obstructions, all these obstacles in the way of getting the piece of art onto the computer. Like if the lighting isn't perfect, or it's just a little more inconvenient. But I'll show you something. So these are some things I made. This is a print I made. I drew it digitally, but it's like the only print I've really made. It's this frog, and this is kind of the part of the tower I was just talking about, with the like roller coaster stuff coming out. And I want to make some more kind of stuff like this. Just like art pieces. So I spend a lot of time on animation, but I would like to make some more just single image type things. And then here's a thing I did in high school that was when I was 15. I was sophomore in high school. I was homeschooled my whole life. And then, so this is from high school. I don't know how well you can see it. But it's a physical drawing with pencils, obviously, on paper. And it's just this surreal type of face with like a brain and an eye. And there's a lot of details you probably can't see. But there's like hundreds of these intertwining branches. I spent like 3 months on it, I think. But I want to make more like art like this, where it's just like a drawing with a surreal weirdness that's kind of hard to describe. I was really kind of paranoid when I made this. I put some hidden messages in here because I thought, well, I don't even know if I should say it because it was like probably crazy, but I thought like the avian bird flu was like all in the news, and I was thinking for some reason that I'm not even gonna say it because it's just like I don't want to put energy out there for like crazy conspiracy theories, but I like invented my own conspiracy theory, and I was really proud of it because I came up with it. So I put hidden messages in there for myself if I ever got brainwashed, that I could like remind myself of the truth or whatever. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm definitely glad I'm not in that headspace anymore because I was paranoid about a lot of stuff. I graduated from high school in 2008, so I'm an old man now. Even though I still feel like I'm like 12 in my brain. Hopefully I'm more mature now. I think I am. I don't know. But yeah, no, I definitely have noticed like probably around the age of like 27, I started feeling a lot more competent. A lot more, I actually don't know the right word, but like I felt a lot more insecure in my own skin. Like I've been talking about this enough, probably for this live stream, but like more self-conscious. Whereas, I don't even know if this is a good thing, but when I was 27, that's when I started my LLC and basically started doing animation full time, and I became a freelancer full time. And that did give me a sense of a self-esteem, which now that I think about it, like your self-esteem really shouldn't be dependent upon external factors, because the moment that external factor gets taken away, then your self-esteem gets taken away. So if your whole self-esteem is in, this cool car that you bought, and then your car gets totaled, and then you don't have the funds to buy a new cool car, well, then you feel like a loser. But true self-esteem shouldn't come from these external things. However, self-esteem that's based on something that you put a ton of work into, that's a little bit more intrinsic to yourself. It's like, I guess that's maybe less shallow than putting into like physical items, but still, like, I think like self-esteem really shouldn't be dependent on external things. So, because then you're always grasping towards something. But when I was 27, like that's when I like hyper focused on doing this as a full-time thing. And because before that, I so let me just back up again. Let me back up. I started doing animation when I was 19, right? So I didn't go to school. I didn't like learn it properly, but I was just watching this guy Chad Van Galen. He's an animator and musician. He did all his music videos himself, and I was really focused on music at the time. That's like all I was doing was recording albums. So, but I didn't have like, I wasn't making any kind of money from music. I was too shy to play live. So I just kind of felt like trapped. Like my music's just like trapped on my hard drive on my computer. Like it's not getting out there anywhere. So then I saw Chad Van Galen animating his own music videos, and that told me, whoa, you can animate music videos? That's what inspired me to try animating. So that's the first thing I ever did was I animated a music video for my song The Promise, and it was literally just a flip book on cutout pieces of computer paper about this big, like 3 by 2 inches, and I just drew it with markers and pens and colored pencils, and then I scanned there was like a few hundred drawings, and I scanned it all onto my crappy Dell computer that like crashed all the time, and I edited the whole thing in Windows Movie Maker, I think is what it was called, and that crashed all the time, and the highest frame rate you could do on that was like 8 frames a second, so the animation's like super slow and choppy, but that was basically like the first project I did animation wise. It took 2 months in 2009, and that was basically like when the obsession began, because even though it was so hard to make animation, draw all these static images, when you see everything moving in the end, it becomes all worthwhile. And because think of it this way, you have these thoughts in your head that are moving around, you can envision these things that no one else can see except yourself, and the moment you try to tell that to a person, what you're thinking in your head, it's like telling someone a dream you had. It's maybe not that interesting, but it's interesting to yourself because you lived in the dream, so you experienced the virtual reality, the 3D perspective of the dream, the intricate details. But you really can't share that with another person. We are all isolated in our own heads. However, animation allows you to project your dream onto a 2D surface for other people to see. And that's what I love about animating, is you put in motion, you put in colors, you make things that are impossible to see in real life, but other people can then see it, and you're sharing you're projecting these moving images into other people's heads directly. It's just a very weird, bizarre feeling that I really like, even though it takes like a million years to make like 3 seconds of animation. So then from 2009 through 2000, I don't know. Well, basically I just made more of my own music videos. And then when I was 23, in 2013, I was like, well, I'm kind of just like sitting in my parents' basement, not making money, just like drawing these cartoons that like like 3 people watch on the internet. I kind of need to figure out what I'm doing with my life, and like I really don't want to go to school. So that's when I was like, I really need to figure out, is there a way to monetize animation? And I really don't want to work in a studio either because I don't like working around people. So then I was like, well, maybe I should try the college thing because I got a scholarship. I had 2 years of free community college. He's like, okay, I guess I'll try this. Like all my other friends are going to school, and like I won't have any student debt. So I apply online, and I'm signing up for all my courses and like, just getting all ready. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna get learnt. I'm gonna become a productive member of society. And then I got to the page after I had selected all my courses from community college. I got to the application page and it asked me to enter my address. And I was like, I don't know my address. And I was like, I don't feel like asking anyone what's my address. So I was just like, this is too much work. I don't want to type all this. So then I just closed the tab and that was the end of that. So anyways, after that, there was a Flaming Lips animation contest to make their music video, and there was like a 30-day deadline. And so for the next 30 days, I hyper focused on this 5-minute music video called "Look, the Sun is Rising," and I worked like insane hours. I pulled a couple all-nighters, like working like 30 to 40 hours straight just to meet the deadline, and I literally got it uploaded like within hours of the submissions ending. And so that was like an extremely stressful situation, but it's like, what else am I going to do? Like, I don't know how to go to community college. Everywhere I've applied to, they either don't get back to me or like I don't have anything on my resume. So it's hard to even get a job at Walmart. And Walmart actually did call me back to go in for an interview. They told me to come in at 8 a.m. and I told them I was going to be asleep. So I didn't get that job because I don't want to wake up early for that. So anyways, yeah, just incompetent. And anyways, so then I submitted to that, and then I got a text from Wayne Coyne, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I got a text from him on Twitter, or not a text, a message on Twitter. He told me to text him, and he gave me his number, and then I told him I don't have a phone. And then so then I never heard from him again. I was like, well, that's weird. Like, that's weird. Like, he's asking me to text him. And then the next day I got an email from the animation website that my project won, that Flaming Lips picked the music video I animated to be their official music video. And the contest prize was $4,000. It's like, I've never seen that much money in my entire life. It's like, now I have money in my bank account for drawing. Like, I was drawing for free, for 23 years, and now, like, you can actually make money off of art. It was a total mind-shifting moment, and that's when I became, like, very focused on, okay, I need to figure out how to make animation a career, and that was a learning process. It did not happen overnight. It took years, like, until I was 27. So for the next 4 years, I was struggling, just like submitting to more contests. And I lost, I started it was a gamble because I'd work 3 months on an animation and then it wouldn't win and I wouldn't have anything to show for it. And then a couple projects they did go through, like Diving in the Sea of Light, which that was a project, but I spent like 12 months working on it nonstop, and the budget was only $5,000. So, do the math there. That's less than $500 a month working every day. So I was like, well, like obviously these contests are not a viable, this is not a solution to my predicament. So then I, like during that time I was kind of working part-time for my best friend's dad who owns a fitness company. So I was on the side, I was working with him installing treadmills and putting together ellipticals and other kind of weight machines just to make some money on the side. And that's how I was able to buy my Cintiq tablet and upgrade from my crappy Dell computer to an iMac and buy TV paint. Basically, all the money I was making on the side, I was reinvesting right into my animation software and programs and just equipment. And but that was also like inconsistent, and I was really wanting to like be independent and move out and stuff. Just feeling kind of frustrated that like I just was making like definitely below poverty level, and I was like 26. I can't complain though, cause like I my family was fully supportive of my creative endeavors, so like I wasn't being pressured to get a real job or move out or anything. I mean, there was some social pressure to move out by society, and like people just like asking like, don't you ever want to move out, or like just making, I just kind of was feeling like a loser, to be honest. But I don't think anyone, if you live at home, you shouldn't feel like a loser. I'll just tell you, especially if you're working on stuff and like trying to set up your career, like just ignore everyone who's like trying to tell you what to do, because you have to follow your own path. And college isn't for everyone. It's for some people, but it's not for everyone. There's multiple paths to take, and you shouldn't ever feel self-conscious or like you have to impress other people or follow someone else's script, right? You have your own script. You have your own life. You're following your own path. Other people are going to try to pull you to their path and tell you this is how you're supposed to go. And sometimes what they're saying is good advice, but you also need to be grounded and be able to discern what is good advice and what is just peer pressure, right? There's a ton of social pressure to be a certain way, basically to not be authentic. It's like the world basically is constantly making us feel insecure to be authentic. You have to go against the current sometimes to be your authentic self. So when I was 26, that's when I got a real job, I suppose you could say, like a more full-time-ish one. Oh yeah, I should read chat. Okay, chat. Animated music videos are the coolest. Yes. Animated music videos are a great way to experiment with different styles too, especially because they're short and it's less risky for it's just less risky. You have a lot more creative freedom. Animation by something says this is relatable. Seeing Porter Robinson live is the reason why I started doing animations again at age 28. Very cool. Very cool. I remember hearing somewhere that while you're dreaming, you're the character, but when you wake up, you become the audience. Ooh, that's interesting. I know. Do you guys forget your dreams? Do you guys remember your dreams? I feel like I forget my dreams unless I tell someone about it. What was I talking about? How long have I been going? Oh my goodness, I've been going over an hour. I can't believe I've been talking this long. Wow. Some people talk longer, I guess, but yeah. Oh yeah, when I was 26, I'm almost done. I'll probably be done with this in a little bit. But when I was 26, that's when one of my friends from high school, he had been working at a freezer, truck loading, loading trucks, food that they put to gas stations, and he was about to quit, and he asked me, do you want this job? Because I'm quitting and they need a loader. So I accepted, and it was basically like this warehouse in the middle of kind of nowhere, and like there were like 5 big trucks that had to be loaded, and there was a freezer, and the freezer was full of just junk food, sandwiches and pastries, things you find in a gas station. So I was like, cool, I'll do this, and it was like a full-time-ish job. They paid me 40 hours a week, but really it was more like however fast you can load the trucks is good. So like most days it would honestly only take me 2 hours to load all the trucks. Because it was freezing too. Like the freezer was unbelievably cold. And I was always afraid I was going to get locked in there. So I'd try to keep the door propped open with a little rock. Because sometimes the door would be hard to push open. And like sometimes the liquids would like kind of melt and then refreeze. So the door, I was just always afraid the door was going to get ice shut while I was in there loading up pastries onto my cart to push to the trucks. So my fingers were like always feeling frostbitten, and I wore like 3 pairs of socks. It kind of hurt my back after a while. But overall, it was a fairly mindless, easy job, right? So then the boss guy like quit, and there was a new boss there who was super mean, and I could hear him cursing out truckers and like saying he's gonna kick their, and just like very unpleasant boss. And I was feeling very trapped, and like just hearing all the intensity and conflict. I wasn't even directly involved with it, but as I was loading up stuff, just hearing like the bad vibes was really disheartening. And then he came up to and talked to me, and he's like, you're only here working 2 hours. Like I can't pay you 40 hours a week. So basically, long story short, the new boss basically, started paying me 10% or 15% of what the old boss was paying me. And it just became completely unworthwhile to do that. And basically, like, he said if I want to get paid for 8 hours a day, I have to be in the freezer 8 hours a day. And it's like, well, there's not, like, what am I going to do? So it's like, well, you can sweep, you can, like, basically he started making all these busy list things for me to do that really had very little pragmatic value. It was just, he was just trying to keep me in the freezer 8 hours a day. And, like, after, like, 3 or 4 hours, like, I was feeling, like, pain, like, even, like, sick. So I told him, like, I can't. I was like, oh, I can't do that. So then he was trying to make me a truck driver, and I hate driving on the interstate. It's just too, whatever. But anyways, he was just like, and then I didn't sweep right one time, and he got a broom and he started sweeping and condescendingly telling me like, this is how you use the broom. Like, this is how you use the vacuum. Just like totally talking to me like I was a complete idiot. And then he's like, now repeat after me all the things you need to do today. Show me, can you do the sweeper? Show me how you do the sweeper. Just like talking to me like so condescendingly. And then so I was just becoming emotionally stressed with that because like, well, I finally got a job. I could never even get a job at Walmart or Blockbuster. So I felt emotionally just like I had to keep this job because I just didn't have any options. Well, I was telling my brother all this, my older brother. We were eating, just getting we were just hanging out at Barnes & Noble, and I was telling him all this stuff, and he just looked at me and he said, you don't need this job. And I was like, what? He's like, you don't need this job. Like, this isn't, it feels like this is the only option, but it's not. You have choices. And I was like, oh, okay. It's like, I don't have to, like, I'm not obligated, like, I don't have to stay here. So I gave him my 2 weeks notice, and I told him like, this job is not economically viable for me. And so I quit, and that was basically the inciting incident to start the LLC and do animation full time. And I rented like 50 books from the library all about small business, how to get clients, how to do contracts, how to like deal with taxes, hire a CPA, how to do freelancing, just like how to set up an online shop, how to find clients, how to communicate with them, like things like charging 50% up front, 50% upon completion, all this stuff. And so that was literally quitting that job was the inciting incident for doing animation full time. And so that's what I've been doing since then. And right after I quit that job, I in a 6-month period, I made 4 music videos. And then I also, one of the music videos went on Adult Swim, and that's got into the eyes of this lighting designer for the band the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and he reached out to me to do some live concert work for Incubus. And this was all like in a 6-month window. Just like, I was like the busiest I'd ever been up to that time. And basically none of that would have happened if I felt pressured to stay in the freezer. If I became a truck driver, I wouldn't have had the time or the drive to basically go 100% into animation. It would have been something I just had a little bit of energy for, but like, just like the pressure of, oh my goodness, if I'm working at this freezer, it just takes one person above me who doesn't like me to make your life incredibly miserable. So I just wanted to basically fire the boss before he could fire me. So I quit. Of course, freelancing, you're dealing with multiple other bosses. They're all temporary, but it's less of a commitment, less like it's easier to go in and out of projects. There's pros and cons for sure. There's definitely some other stressors with being independent, 100%. But I much prefer this type of lifestyle to like working a conventional job. Not for everyone, but like if you're working a conventional job and you want to quit, like probably the best thing to do is to get enough freelance gigs to where your income, if you can get your income to match what you're making at your conventional job, then you can quit no problem. But if you're not like able to get consistent work, then it would be more financially risky to quit. But if you have like half a year's of savings saved up, maybe it's worth experimenting with quitting if you know you can get another job. But like it's a very personal situation. I can't give like super general advice to anyone because everyone's situation is different. So we're all struggling though. We're all in this life experiment together. And yeah, with that, I think I'm gonna end this chat. So thanks everyone so much for watching. And next month probably, or I don't know, yeah, sometime, I don't know. But like once a month I'll do a stream like this, and maybe I'll let everyone know like a day or two in advance so that it's not totally random. But I really appreciate everyone listening. And if you want to, I've been posting music on my music channel. It'll be in the pinned comment or the description. So if you want some like original music, you can go there. I'm remastering all my old songs, and then I'm going to be working on new stuff to put there. Just keeping my music separate from the animation stuff. But I really appreciate everyone watching, and thank you for watching. And I'll talk to you some other time.